Hello, and welcome back to Top 5 Scary, my little ghouls and goblins. I'm Taylor, and we talk about summoning demons pretty often around here, but really, it's not the kind of thing amateurs should be messing with. The consequences of aggravating the spirit world can be disastrous. I'm not gonna go into personal detail, but just these unfortunate souls should be a warning to you. This is Top 5 Times Bloody Mary was summoned. Have you ever tried to commune with the world beyond? Let me know down below in the comments how it worked out for you. Number 5. What's outside? Our first story comes to us from a blog called Are You Bloody Mary, chronicling the stories and experiences of other wayfarers who've tried to contact her. Our blogger shared her story when she was younger. Her friend had come over for a sleepover, then they went through the usual sleepover checklist, horror movies, a little bit of gossiping about the boys, and an occult ritual. The two friends went upstairs to the bathroom, arranged candles, although they were fake ones. Still good enough for the ritual, I'm sure. Our narrator was the brave one and spun in circles over and over, giggling, and said the magic words. She said she wasn't feeling anything but dizzy and asked her friend if it had worked and anything had happened. Her friend said no. Disappointed, the girls were about to leave the bathroom when in the reflection of the mirror, they both saw the window that faced the backyard. As they went towards it, they noticed there was a figure standing in the backyard. Staring at them from down below, outside, was a girl with ratty black hair looking at the window. Somehow, she managed to rise to where the window was. The girl had her hands to her face and her mouth wide open as if she was going to let out a scream, but nothing came. The girls ran outside to try and see what was happening, but when they did, the figure that was floating outside had vanished. The story writer said she didn't sleep that night or much the week after that, and although it had happened years ago, she still thinks all the time what it was they saw that day and just what could have happened. And if you're liking hearing scary stories about creatures from beyond and all sorts of things, why don't you click through on the channel, because we've got loads of stuff for you and more stuff coming every day, so toss a subscribe our way if you're feeling generous. Number 4. Shadow Person. Our next story comes to us from the subreddit r/no sleep, which is more than appropriate for what we're talking about today. Now this next user shares her story, saying that when she was younger, she was scared of everything. Used to sleep with all the lights on or fall asleep with the TV on to comfort her into getting to sleep. In school, the storyteller joined the summer recreation program as a way to meet and make friends. She met a girl named Rebecca, who to this day is still her best friend. Isn't that sweet? Her new friend Rebecca had told her about the legend of Bloody Mary, and to our cowardly hero it stuck with her. Said she would go home and think of Bloody Mary, think of what she would do if she was ever confronted by the demon. Eventually, non-stop worrying and anxiety started to get to her, and she decided to test her courage. Went into the bathroom, terrified, alone in the dark. Thought that if she just did it quickly, said Bloody Mary into the mirror, and got out, it would cure the fear. So she went downstairs to get a large candle and a lighter, and set the candle next to the sink, and said the magic words. She waited a few minutes, scared, shaking, but nothing happened, so she went back to her bedroom, thinking she could finally get some rest. She crawled into bed, but noted that her room was ice cold, even though it was 90 degrees outside. In her doorway was a shadowy figure. She said looking at her made her insides hurt, and she wanted to scream, but no words could come out. So she closed her eyes as tight as she could and kept them shut the whole night. Come morning, she opened her eyes, still afraid, and there was no shadow figure standing in the doorway. So she went to the bathroom to get ready and noticed a cut next to her eyebrow, scratches all over her stomach, and cuts on her arms. She said she did conquer her fears, but she'll never play Bloody Mary again. Number 3. Night Terrors. Our next story was shared to us by another Redditor on a similar subreddit, this one going by the handle RuneCat. RuneCat talks about when they were in school, Bloody Mary was a popular game for kids to play to try and scare each other. Classic kid stuff. A way to prove who was brave and who wasn't. RuneCat's own friend group was a little too cowardly for it, running out of the bathroom without saying it enough time, leaving the lights on, baby stuff. So it became a bit of a competition, and RuneCat believed that they had something to prove as the bravest of everyone in the class. So RuneCat went home that night, and near midnight, walked into the family bathroom, turned all the lights off, and stared into a mirror while their heart was racing. They said Bloody Mary 3 times, and then stood there and waited for a minute, counted out 60 seconds exactly, and then out the door and went back to bed, proud of themselves. It wasn't until they tried to drift off to sleep that things started to get weird. They said as they were sleeping they felt something on their feet, but that they didn't have any pets in the house. So RuneCat opened their eyes to see what it was. They saw something that looked like a zombie leering over the foot of the bed. A dark being with black rotten holes over the decaying skin that was falling off the bones, and a mouth that hung open in a way that looked like it didn't know how to close it. It was here that Runecat noticed it wasn't just one creature, but as they looked into the darkness, it was a web of them, ever expanding in the places the light couldn't touch. In the corners, in the hallways outside, everywhere. Runecat started sobbing, screaming as loud as they could to try and wake up their parents. After all, honestly, if there was any zombie trouble in my house, I would call my mom too, first thing. And so their mom woke up and she was laughing, dismissing it as just a nightmare or something that the storyteller was imagining. But could it have been something more? A vision? Something seeping through to the other world? Number 2, an invisible protector. This was posted by a Redditor user named TimeAt99. The story was called "We Attempted to Summon Bloody Mary and It Worked Too Well." The story is about Timeat's two friends when they were all younger. Timeat and his two friends were at his friend's house and they wanted to try the ritual for themselves. They got a candle, lit it in the bathroom, and Timeat's friend said Bloody Mary into the mirror, only he did it 5 times, which is 2 times too many, which could have ended up being their downfall. Bloody Mary gets pretty annoyed when you don't follow the rules. His friend started gasping for air, grabbing at his neck as if he was choking. They switched the lights on thinking it was just a prank, but noticed that their friend had fallen to the floor and was choking. Timeat said he knew here what they'd done was a mistake. His other friend was trying to help the one choking, while Timeat screamed out, "Stop, Bloody Mary," commandingly, and it seemed to work, as his choking friend was finally able to breathe. And Timeat claims he saw the apparition of a shadowy girl in a bloody dress in the room with them in the mirror. Now where things get interesting, if that wasn't enough to pique you, is Timeat claims that since this event, his life has been changed, as if he has a protector. The most outright encounter being, while walking to college one day, he was about to cross the road when a car came racing by at a breakneck speed. He felt something tug on the back of his shirt and looked back to see who was his savior, but no one was around. He whispered out, "Mary," and heard a giggle. And number 1, Lonely Mary. Alright, and at our number 1 spot is a variation of the bloody legend that I guarantee you haven't heard yet. Our story consists of 2 friends, one named Jack, and one who preferred to be anonymous, and maybe you'll understand why in a minute. The 2 friends were hanging out on a regular Tuesday when they decided for a bit of nostalgic fun they'd play an old school game and summon Bloody Mary following a guide they followed online. He posted the guide and I'll share it with you because it's pretty interesting. Step 1, have a mate assist you. Gather your supplies, your candles, a flashlight, and red dye. Lock the door of the bathroom. Step 2, light the candles and with the thick red dye pour it over your hands. Make 4 dots on the corner of the mirror. Step 3, wipe the dye off of your hands and now put a towel over your eyes. Step 4, say "I wish to speak with the fallen queen, queen of fallen blood, queen of hatred," and take the cloth off your head. And finally, step 5, don't yell or panic. Keep calm. From here, he claims he saw a figure in the mirror with hollowed eyes and sunken cheeks. He tried to remember the rules and stayed calm and said, "Hey, how's it going?" Which is what I would say too if I summoned a demon, to be totally honest. She said nothing back and then said she was cold. So cold. Thinking like a gentleman, our hero took his jacket off to offer it to Bloody Mary. What an absolute sweetheart. He said he saw the figure begin unbuttoning her dress before he started to blush. He looked closer at her and Lord knows what was running through his head. Kissed the mirror, burning himself on the candle in the process. He swatted out the candle and looked at the now angry looking entity and said, "I need to depart, your highness," followed by a shrill shriek that sounded like it was from another world. That night, while sleeping, he woke up in the middle of the night and felt a weight on his arm. It was sore and the skin was all red and blotchy, far more than a small burn from a candle would have made. He ends his story saying he thinks Bloody Mary isn't just cold, but lonely. And that's all for this video, my ghouls and goblins. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one, and keep on creeping on.